Hey everyone, my name is Abhishek and welcome to another episode of Creative Tuesdays. In today's video, I will show you how to create this kinetic typography animation in After Effects. I will also share some techniques using which you can create a completely different animation just by changing few parameters. So before I begin, if you guys are new here, then please consider subscribing and make sure to press that bell icon so that you never miss another amazing video like this. So without wasting any further ado, let's jump into After Effects and get started. Alright, so right now I'm in After Effects and as always we'll begin by creating a new composition. So go to composition, new comp, and let's call this main. Width and height will be 1920 by 1080. Frame rate you can go with 30 fps and duration let's go with 10 seconds. Just click on OK. So now we are going to create our text. So for that you can select the text tool and you can just click anywhere you want. After that you can simply type your text. So I'm going to type kinetic. And you can choose whatever font you want. So I'm using this Gibson semi-bold font, but it's completely up to you. I'm not gonna judge, so you can choose whatever font you want. So now we have our text and we are going to change its anchor point into the center. So in order to do that, you can either use a script, something like this, or you can select the layer, then hold down the control key. And if you double click on this pan behind anchor tool, then you can see that it will make the anchor point in the center, just like this. So once the text is center, you can align it in the center of this composition as well. So you can use the align panel. Again, if you're not able to see this, then go to Windows and from here you can enable it. So right away we have our text and let me just select this and I'm going to press S. So let's just scale this up. Now we want a couple of other text as well. So I'm going to duplicate it by pressing Ctrl D, or you can select the text tool and create another text layer. So let's type typography. So you can type whatever you want, but just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to use this and let's place it over here. And again, I'm going to scale it so that it kind of fits to the width of our kinetic text. And let's add few more text. So let's place it over here and let me type text and let's select this and let's scale this up. So it's completely up to you. You can type whatever you want and you can place your text wherever you want as well. Now let's duplicate this one more time and I'm going to type one last text. So let's call this animation. And again, I'm going to place it down below, just like this. So let's just scale this up, something like this. So just play around with their position. So yeah, I think this is looking good. So now let's select all the text layers and let's just try to position them in the center. Now while all the layers are selected, you can go under the align panel and you can click on this icon so that it will align them horizontally. Now all of these are in a straight line. So we are pretty much done with our text. Again, if you want, you can just select whatever text you want and you can place them wherever you want. So if you want to have some text right over here, you can do that. But for this one, we are going to stick to this. So now, once you have all your text layers, now our next step is to make them 3D. So let me just quickly select them and let's just drop them down. And now you can just make them 3D by pressing this and enabling the 3D option. And now we are going to change their anchor point. So again, you can use a script, something like this, or you can do one more thing. You can enable the snapping option and then you can choose this option. So let me just select this one, and if you hold, you can see that it will automatically snap the anchor point to the side. So it's completely up to you. So on this one we have the anchor point on the left side, and on this one we want this on the right side, again on the left side, and this one will put it onto the right side. So right away you can see that we have all the text aligned. So our next step is to add a null object. So we are going to create a new null object and let's make that 3D as well. Now you can select all the text layers and just simply parent them to the null object. Again, if you're not able to see the parent option, then you can right click under the columns. You can see that we have this option, just enable it and then parent them. Now before we animate the null object, our first task is to animate the text. So we are going to simply animate the rotation. So let me just quickly align the text. So first we have the kinetic, then typography, then text animation. So we are going to animate the kinetic first. So let's select the layer, then press R for rotation And now it's completely up to you. You can rotate them along the y-axis, you can rotate them along the x-axis, however you want. Just pick whatever axis you want, and let's stick with the y-axis. So I'm going to just rotate it something like this. So let's add a keyframe and let's move around 1.5 seconds, and let's animate it from this position to 0. And we're going to do the pretty much same thing on all the text layers. So let's select all of them, then press R for rotation, and let's add a keyframe for Y rotation. And in the beginning we want the typography to come from the opposite side, just like this. Let's do this for this text layer as well, and it's completely up to you. Just do the same thing for this one as well. So there you go. It does not matter whether your texts are visible, you just have to do the animation part. So now we have the text animation. So let's select all the keyframes, then you can press U so that all the keyframes are visible. So select them, then you can press F9 to ease ease them, or you can right click, go to keyframe assistant, then ease ease. Now make sure the keyframes are selected, then you can go under the graph editor by simply clicking on this icon. And now we are inside the graph editor, and if your graph looks different, then make sure that you are inside the edit speed graph, not in the value graph. And once you are inside it, just make sure to select this endpoint and just move it all the way to the left side. And now we can select these points and just move them all the way to the left as well, so that your graph looks something like this. So if I get out of this, you can see that we have this sort of animation. So let's tweak this further. So I'm going to add some delay to this. So I'm going to move them 10 frames apart. So let's move this layer at this. So this one will go at 20 frames and this one will go at 1 second. So now you can see that all the layers are appearing just like this. Now if you want to enhance this more, you can do one more thing. You can select all the layers, then you can enable the motion blur, and don't forget to enable the motion blur for the composition, otherwise this won't work. So if I play back, here you can see that we have the motion blur in our text. Now if you're happy with this, you can leave your animation right over here and you're pretty much done with this animation. But there is a really interesting way to enhance this more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the null object. So let's press R for rotation and let's place it somewhere around here. And let's add a keyframe for all the axes, and let's go to the very beginning. And in the beginning I'm going to change this to randomly something like this, and let's place it something like this. So this is all completely random. After that you can select the keyframes, press F9, and under the graph let's change them and make them look something like this, just like this. So now if I play back, here you can see that we have created a really amazing animation. So you can see that right away it has changed the complete look of our animation, and now it is looking really impressive. Now the best part about this is that you can easily tweak this. So all you have to do is just go to the very first keyframe, and then you can just simply randomly tweak whatever parameters you want. So now if I play back, here you can see that now we have a completely different animation. You see how easy it is to add some variation to this. So if I change this to that, so now you can see that it has again changed its orientation. So this will give you a different result no matter how many times you change this. So you can just simply go crazy, something like this. So this is how you can add some variation to this. And again, if you want, you can add more variation to your text. So let's say you don't want the text to appear from here, you can animate it along some other axis. So let me just quickly show you. So let's select all these and let's place them in the beginning, and let's select them, then press R for rotation, and let me just quickly remove the Y keyframes. Now I'm going to use the position. So let's select them and press P for position. So let's add a position keyframe for all of them, and let's move this to somewhere around 1.5 seconds. And in the beginning we can change their positions. So let's move it to something like this, and we can move this one like this. Just randomly select the text and just change their position. Just like this. Again, you can select them, press F9. Then in the graph, just make sure that your graph looks something like this. And now just offset them by 10 frames. Just like this. So now if I play back, here you can see that we have created a different kind of animation. And again, just like with the earlier example, you can tweak these parameters. So you can lower down some values, increase some of them, and it right away you can see that it will give you a really interesting look. So this is how you can create some really amazing kinetic typography animation in After Effects. And just by simply parenting them to a null object, you can animate their rotation and it will give you some really amazing results. So I hope you learned something from this video, and the project files for this tutorial will be available on Patreon. So if you are supporting me over there, then you can download it from there. And if you are not, then you might consider it, because once you join my Patreon, you will get access to all the tutorial files, and there are some exclusive templates that are available only for Patreons. So make sure to check it out. Link for that will be in the description. Also, if you don't want to miss any of these videos, then make sure to subscribe and don't forget to press that bell icon. So with that being said, my name is Abhishek and I'll see you in the next one.